Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Tyrone back with Tech Life. This article comes to you guys from Light Reading. I'll leave a link to it in the description so you guys could check it out. So this could get a bit ugly for AT&T, and I know some of you that are tech enthusiasts, wireless enthusiasts, are not going to like this too much. So recently, AT&T released some targets around where they think or where they would like to deploy, not where, but how aggressively the timeline will be for the 600 megahertz deployment. And they stated 40% of the population will be covered by 600 3 years after the deal closing between AT&T and EchoStar. And then it was like 75% of the population covered by December 31st, 2030. So then we got objection to that from T-Mobile stating they want to move up the timeline. They want the FCC to tell AT&T to build it out even more aggressively and quicker. AT&T's response in this article that you see on screen is that T-Mobile's wishes are not reality. It's just not feasible. So AT&T is saying, and it's in this article, I'll take you guys to it. They're saying, so we all know AT&T today doesn't have any 600 in the network. So there's going to be a period of time where they have to get its vendor, which is now going to be Ericsson mostly, right? There's still some Nokia, but we all know they're phasing that out, to get 600 on board, right? Into the multi-band radio. AT&T is saying, and it's in this article, just doing that can take 2 years. And then they also have to coordinate support with handset vendors and negotiate leases and secure permits. They're saying that process takes 2 years. So if they're saying that takes 2 years, then how can they reach 40% of the population 3 years post of the deal closing? Right? So that's conflicting information. I know they can get a lot done within a year, but if they're saying it's going to take 2 years to just get support for multi-band radios to get 600 on board and then also get OEMs involved and get the more device support, that's not a good look in my opinion. So if they're not already working on that now, to some extent, because I know they're waiting for the deal to close before they do anything bigger around that, they want to have approval, of course, before they start knocking on doors of Ericsson and, hey, CommScope, can you do this? Can you help me out here? So they're going to look to get approval first. But then if you're saying it's going to take you 2 years after approval to get all of this in motion, then even the 3-year target of 40% population covered with 600 is not feasible either. It's not realistic. So are we might as well say that it's 2026 soon. You get approval, say, second quarter. You're talking 2027 before you even start building it out. So then you have 28, 29, you pretty much have 3 years to get to the 75% target. And it all depends on AT&T how aggressively they want to build. It's just not a high priority for them, is what that tells me. If they wanted to put $5 billion towards this build out, 600 build out, they could do that very well. But it's not realistic, not from an economic perspective, which is what they're quoting here. It's because they have other priorities. They want to invest more in fiber. They still have a mid-band to roll out. They still have Nokia sites to rip to Ericsson. So they're not going to drop everything and put all the money into 600. So, and I think that's why T-Mobile is pushing back a bit. Of course, T-Mobile has they have their own goals, and they're likely trying to perhaps at some point get 600 for pennies on the dollar if AT&T doesn't meet the requirements. But I don't see that happening. I think AT&T will eventually come around and they will be more aggressive around 600, but I think it'll be closer to 6G. And I think that's what they're mentioning in this article too, that the spectrum will be a low band layer for 6G. And that's where I think it comes into play more aggressively. Because I think closer to 2030, we'll already be hearing a lot more about 6G, like a lot more. Devices will be already in the market for 6G, and that's when I think AT&T will be more aggressive with 600. But for now, I mean, I don't want to say forget it, but we're not getting 600 this in 26. You're not getting 600 in 27. You might start seeing deployments starting in 2028 if they even have all the right support. So this could get a bit ugly. I know wireless enthusiasts are not going to like it. It would be, I'll be very honest, it would be better off with T-Mobile because they can make use of it instantly because they have it deployed on the network. But I just don't see AT&T doing anything with it for a few years. They're saying it's going to take 2 years post-close of the deal just to get multi-band radios ready for them to deploy. It's right here in the article, 24 months. So if we take that at face value, so the deal say it closes in May of 26. That means you're not going to see anything until May of 2028. Just to set expectations for you guys. And then they want to get 75% deployed by 2030. I don't see it. I just don't see it unless they set aside a specific amount of CapEx for 600. I don't see it. I think they just gradually scale and they deploy within priority markets. 600 goes into markets first where they don't have 850, so they can have a low band layer on 5G, a clean low band layer on 5G that's not shared with LTE, and then they just gradually scale from there on out. But we'll see. Maybe the FCC does give them a very strong target to deploy by this time frame, and then they'll just have to speed up everything. They can't be slow, right? It shouldn't take 2 years to get a vendor to build multi-vendor support. I mean, multi-band radio support where they can add 600. It's already, T-Mobile does it. They have it in the panel that has multi-band support. I know if I know AT&T, they're going to want that radio to be able to do everything, right? 600, 700, 1900, 2100. So that's probably a little bit more tricky, but it can be done, and it shouldn't take 2 years to figure that out. And they should already be calling now and asking questions like, hey, if we get approval early next year, can you already do 600 into these radios? And that's why I think AT&T really doesn't have huge focus on the 600 deployment. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.